All right, so let me start recording. Hey everybody, it's Phil Struzula from Select Software Reviews. Here with Giacomo Mol. Giacomo, thank you so much for joining us. And do you mind giving a quick introduction on yourself, your business, and kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. My name is Giacomo. I work at Oneteam. We are the all-in-one application to reach, engage, and train your frontline workforce. I work at Oneteam now already for almost 2 years, and I started here in the business development team, and now I'm focusing on partnerships. Internationally, also in the Netherlands. But since we are a startup and since the fact that we are growing internationally, I'm having a lot of meetings on a daily basis with international parties to see how we can establish a partnership with them.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out. And I guess, so your offering is essentially helping like somebody that might work in a restaurant or somebody that might work in a retail setting just be better at their job. So it's maybe like some of the tasks that they need to know to how to do their job. And then maybe also like, is it also like upskilling type stuff? Like, hey, you're kind of manning the registers, but we want you to one day become a manager sort of thing.
That could also be the case. At the end, the platform is modular, meaning that the base of Oneteam is the communication, because that was the thing that one of our founders experienced himself when working in a supermarket. What was that he was dealing with all these types of different communication tools, and that it was quite messy and blurry, that he had to log into the intranet, the HR, the scheduling system. And aside from that, the communication was done via, for example, WhatsApp groups. And then he thought of, okay, there needs to be a solution that has all these different types of communication in place. And that was, quite some years ago, I think 7-8 years ago. And building application was not so easy. So now they've established an application with 4 core modules. So the center is communication, and then we have onboarding, training, surveys, and last year we also launched the features of document management and task management. Yeah.
Cool. And what are you seeing as like the evolution of this space? Like what's changing for, there's obviously like lots of different driving factors in our world. There's a potential recession, there's AI, there's kind of the end of COVID, et cetera. Like what's changing in your world, and what are you seeing that's sort of interesting or catching your eye?
I think in the Netherlands, COVID has been quite impactful, meaning that a lot of workers in the past who had like a job in, for example, hospitality, they started thinking after the pandemic that they can do other work as well. And for that, it becomes even more important for these companies to especially engage with their employees. And I think our technology can bring a huge value into connecting with these people, but also making them proactive with everything that goes on from their onboarding, but also to their personal growth within a company. So, for example, the feedback that they can provide a company with using surveys is really valuable for companies, because they can then track and see and measure how the progress is going of an employee. And before, when this was all done via all these different and separate systems, it was quite hard to measure the overall happiness of an employee. Companies would think that they were doing an okay job, but then it turned out that people were leaving, or they were not feeling genuinely happy about the work and the things that they were doing. And here at Oneteam, we tend to think that our application can help a little bit in these companies to make the overall engagement better with their frontline workforce, because they are so hard to connect with, because they don't get a laptop, they don't get a phone. They're out there in the field, in the warehouse, or in the store working, and it's quite difficult then to connect with them on a daily basis. And the technology like Oneteam can obviously help with that. Yeah.
What's your feeling on? It seems like in the Netherlands, it's the same as the US, where there's just like not enough people to do these jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, how do you think that plays out over time?
It's difficult. In the Netherlands, the situation is like this. I think in the Netherlands, we have created a culture where everybody is being taught that they can go to university, that they can study, that they can pursue their dreams, which is, I think, really good. I think in the United States, it's more or less similar. But in the Netherlands, we also created a culture that whenever you are working in retail, for example, people don't see that as a lifelong job. And it's because of the fact that these companies are being looked at as very old-fashioned and not so progressive by using technology and all the other means that they have to grow. And that's a challenge that we currently have. And on the side of young people, that they in the past they would start working, for example, in a restaurant or in a retailer or somewhere else, and nowadays they can do a desk job during their studies, working in customer success, for example. So it's also that due to these technologies that they started doing and having other jobs that they don't really encounter work anymore. Well, they actually work as a non-desk or frontline worker. It has some up and downs, I have to say, I think, in the Netherlands, and COVID definitely is a big cause of that. Yeah.
How much do you think automation is going to replace some of these jobs in the next, like in the short term, right? Like the next like 2 to 5 years?
In the next 2 to 5 years, I find it very difficult, because I don't think whenever you, for example, are going to a retailer and you want to buy some clothes, for example, in fashion apparel, the advice given, it
By a
will be,
robot.
yeah, it will be by a human in the next 2 to 5 years. I don't think a robot is going to do that.
Yeah. Maybe
Also,
self-checkout is a thing in that.
yeah, maybe self-checkout,
Yeah.
or that you walk into the supermarket and your phone is automatically scanned, that when you walk out, you don't have to go through the cashier anymore.
Mm.
These are things that you already see with I think
Amazon.
China, they're experimenting with this, and Amazon as well.
Yeah.
I reckon. But other than that, these workers will still be there. Although they want to see some improvement as well. They want to see some a career path as well, which is like laid out for them the moment they start, and not just do the work and act like a robot, whether they don't have any potential growth in a role within a company. And I think that now it's the time to have a technology that is making use of that, and that's making actual an overall overview of the possibilities that are out there. And therefore it's so important for an application also like our application to develop, launch new features, and to see what's out there and what employees find important eventually.
Yeah, I went in Seattle to the Amazon store that has like no people in it, and it's cool, you know what I mean? But like, I bet you that store costs like $5 million or something. Like the technology there, it's not very feasible. Maybe in 10 years, you know, we'll be at a place where it can see that I'm, you know, buying like this tape measure or something, and add that to my account and know that it's me and whatever. But it feels like a long time from now. And to your point, for something like, you know, retail, right? Like you've got a nice sweater on, you go into a store, you want somebody to say, hey, this color looks good on you, or, you know, this,
exactly.
if you like this, you might like this too, sort of thing.
And also in a restaurant, for example, before COVID, I was in China in a very modern sushi place, and I remember there was this like robot thing bringing the sushi on a small rail in the restaurant. And it was funny because we never encountered that. And I know in Asia, and especially in Japan, but also China, this is completely normal to have. But myself, whenever I go out dining or when I'm with friends or socializing, part of the experience is also, especially hospitality, but also when purchasing something, part of the experience is also the personal connection that you have with the person who's working there. And I think it's very hard to replace that by any form of artificial intelligence, a robot, you name it. It's quite difficult to do that, but obviously in the future, but not in the next 10 years, I think. No.
Yeah, I think you're right. And honestly, like a big part of, you know, shopping or going out to eat or whatever is that human experience. Like if you have a great waiter or a great salesperson, it completely changes the experience. It makes it so much better. And it sounds like, you know, part of having that great person is obviously, you know, their personality and things like that, but it's also them being knowledgeable and understanding how to be a great salesperson or waiter, and sort of knowing the SOPs and all that stuff.
And definitely. 100%. And I think that also, especially for young people who work in hospitality, or in retail, or in a warehouse, or at least in a place where they engage with customers, even when they have ambitions to continue their studies and to work somewhere else in the future, it will bring them a lot of valuable lessons about communication, about interaction, about building a relationship. And I think that's also something really important, that we don't hide behind under our desks. We're all working from home, because it will not bring us that much communicative interaction, I believe. And therefore it's important to have these jobs, and that to have people be successful within these jobs, and to make them feel engaged.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm wondering, what are the other trends that you're seeing in the market? Like anything else that's sort of catching your eye or interesting that people in the HR, L&D, talent acquisition world might say, hey, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think another one is, it's also the way on how people are starting to wake up on that's how certain technology can be used. For example, here in the Netherlands, there's quite a huge tech savviness, I can say, like these companies are starting to wake up. And for example, my mother, she's from Italy, and I can say it as I have Italian. I think it's that in Italy, they are a little bit behind on implementing, for example, digital software to solve problems that we just discussed. And these are things that I encounter a lot with people working in HR, that there is quite a large group of veterans in HR that have been communicating the same way for decades, which was going perfectly well. And now they start to wake up and to see that technology is also quite welcome in order to have better communication, better onboarding, better recruitment as well. And that all these software companies that were and all these SaaS companies that were focusing on the Netherlands, Germany, Nordics, in the beginning, also start to move towards these places, especially for us in Europe. It's mostly Southern Europe as well. These are the markets where competition is not really fierce, because they are still a little bit old-fashioned. But that brings another challenge in a sales process for us, for example, is that we need to convince them as well that there is a revolution going on in HR. And that what helps with that is that the workforce there is also really young, so they are keen on investments, keen on improvement and innovation, and that ultimately is something that drives us as well as a company doing business with these countries.
How do you think about helping? Let's say you're talking to one of these Italian businesses, it's Fiat or whatever, right? And maybe not Fiat because they don't have front. But whatever, it's some big grocery store in Italy. And the HR person gets it, and they're like, hey, I understand, blah, blah, blah. What advice do you have them to convince their boss or their boss's boss that this is the right way forward?
The right way, what we tend to do is that, for example, a lot of these larger organizations, they want to build their own applications, which is completely fine. But then we see a lot of traffic on our website of larger companies, for example, visiting us. And then the discussion I always have then is that, okay, it's not up to me to convince one single person. It's up to us to at least have a conversation with this one single person, and that this one single person then acts as a ambassador or a person who is in favor of improvement and innovation. And I think the only thing that we can do is talk with as many of these people as we can, but especially also engage with the workers within these companies as well. Ultimately, they are not the decision maker, but they are the ones who at some point might decide to leave a company. And I think in the Netherlands, we have a very flat hierarchy in terms of when we work. So it's quite easy for a construction worker to have a meeting with somebody in upper management. And in some countries that is a little bit more difficult. So here's again the cultural challenge there. But for us, it's just, we just need to spread out as much as we can with marketing, with case studies, to get the attention from these workers, but also the decision makers. And the moment we have more and more conversations with people in these certain companies, then we ultimately get out our then we get out the value that it can bring us.
Yeah. Giacomo, I really appreciate your time and sharing what you guys are up to and some of the insights that you've come across. Where can people find you online if they want to connect?
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously, or find more information about the platform on www.oneteam.io. And other than that, connect with us on LinkedIn, sign up for our newsletter, and yeah, we'll keep you posted about our progress and growth and new features.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.